past offseason marks the end of an era for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Who knew at the time when Damian Lillard hit that 37-foot game winner that it would lead to the franchise making the difficult decision of trading both of their star players? They lost in the first round once again and traded Paul George, and at that point, it was obvious that Russell Westbrook was on his way out. Westbrook was the last player drafted by the Seattle Sonics. For the first time, OKC will not have Kevin Durant or Russell Westbrook on the roster. This is an era that's seen great success, improbable failures, bad injuries, and head-scratching decisions. Not many has had the level of success through the draft as this franchise did. From 2007 to 2009, Sam Presti drafted Durant, Westbrook, James Harden, and Serge Ibaka. 3 of those players have been league MVPs and will be future Hall of Famers. The other was an important piece for a number of years. Some teams spend years trying to find one guy that they can build around. OKC had 3 of them at the same time. They made an NBA Finals appearance, with those 4 players being under the age of 23. Not many teams are able to win consistently with their top players being so young, but this group was special. OKC was destined to compete in the NBA Finals for years to come, and it was obvious after losing to Miami in 5 games that they should keep the same team and run it back, at least for one more year, before making a big decision. But Sam Presti's biggest mistake was deciding to trade the reigning 6th Man of the Year, James Harden. They didn't want to give him the max contract that he deserved and broke up that amazing trio before they really could hit their stride. With all the talent that this franchise has had, fast forward to today, and their championship window is completely closed, and the Thunder has started a rebuild. Between both the Paul George and Westbrook trades, OKC received a boatload of first-round picks, a promising young player in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, and the one and only Chris Paul. Chris Paul comes back to the city that he played for when the Hornets moved there because of Hurricane Katrina. It's obvious that Chris Paul is not part of the long-term plan, but his contract is so bad for a player his age that OKC has no choice but to keep him for right now. CP3 is 34 years old and coming off a down year where he only shot 41% from the field and 35% from 3. But he still could help a contending team. Paul is not good enough to be the best or second best player on the championship team, but he can be the 3rd or 4th best player. Playing with a player like James Harden might have hurt his production because he is not known for playing off the ball so much. CP3 is a floor general, and if you don't have to rely on him to score 20 points a night, he can still be very valuable at his age. But because of his contract, OKC might have to give up some assets for a team to take him off their hands. OKC might be more willing to do it during the season. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a player with the most upside on the team. The second-year guard from Kentucky was one of the best rookies last season, as he made the second all-rookie team, only a few votes behind Marvin Bagley for the first team. He started 73 games on a playoff team in the Western Conference. He's always played with poise and is very cool under pressure. He already has playoff experience and played a good series against the Warriors in the first round. Spending time with a player like Chris Paul can only help him more as a point guard. His size and length makes up for his lack of elite speed and quickness. Gilgeous-Alexander is already a two-way player. Improving as an overall shooter is a must. He often hesitated sometimes when he had an open shot off the dribble. Being more confident on those opportunities could help him turn into an all-star. He'll also be playing with another good point guard in Dennis Schroeder. After a couple of years as a starting point guard with the Hawks, Schroeder came off the bench and provided much-needed production. He was the only consistent contributor off the bench last season. Schroeder was a streaky shooter all year. He had 21 games where he scored 20 points or more, including 2 games with 30 or more. But he also had 21 games where he scored 10 points or less. He has 2 more years on his contract at around $15 million per year. That's a little steep for a backup point guard, especially on a rebuilding team. Chris Paul might not be the only point guard that will be on a trading block this season. The one thing that OKC still has from the James Harden trade is the former 12th overall pick, Steven Adams. At this point, you know what Adams will bring to the table. Good rebounder, solid defender, and can get you easy buckets in the paint. He had career highs last year in scoring, rebounding, assists, and blocks. But much like Schroeder, his contract outweighs his value. Even though he had career highs last season, you don't really expect Adams to get any better moving forward. He's being paid like an all-star caliber player, but he will more than likely never be an all-star. Andre Roberson tore his left patella tendon during the 2017-18 season and haven't been back on the court since. He missed the entire year last season, and his timetable at this point is still in question. But he believes he should be ready for training camp. He's a great defensive player who has never been much of an offensive threat. His absence gave players like Terrence Ferguson and Hamidou Diallo more playing time. Ferguson showed some improvements on both sides of the ball, but he still has a long way to go. He could be a solid piece for the team in the future. He flashed his athleticism in his rookie year, but in his second year, he grew more as an overall player as he became the unexpected starter for the majority of the season. His three-point shooting was third on the team at around 37%. He's had ups and downs, but he's still only 20 years old. Ferguson has the athleticism and shooting potential. Right now, Diallo just has the athleticism. He is still raw as an overall player, but he does have the tools that can help him develop into an impact player. Diallo played more frequently in the first couple of months of the season, and by the end of January, he was playing more often with the G League team. His best game came against the Sacramento Kings early in the season, when he scored 18 points, got 2 steals, and made a couple of perimeter jump shots. That game is what OKC needs to see more of going forward. His playing time might not be guaranteed this season, so he needs to make the most of the playing time that he gets. OKC will take a major step back this season. They could be a team that come off the gate and play good basketball at the beginning, but as the season goes along and other teams with more talent start to hit their stride, OKC will come back down to earth and start losing games. It seems like every player besides Gilgeous-Alexander could be traded this season. It'll be a surprise if at least 2 players don't get traded this season. The roster might change a number of times this season, and this team could look completely different by the time the regular season ends in April. I have OKC winning 22 games and finishing in last place in the Western Conference. The franchise hasn't been in this situation since the first time they moved to Oklahoma City. They had a great run with some unbelievable talent in the first 11 years. But now they're back to rebuilding with a healthy number of future first-round picks.